Bill O'Reilly here. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. Coming up next, the news with Mike Slater.
Thank you, Bill. It is Friday, May 19th, 2023. Here's what's happening today in America. Governor Abbott busing more illegal immigrants. ESPN may be launching their own streaming service. Disney hits back at DeSantis. And a Chick-fil-A closes. That's all coming up. Then Bill will be here with your message of the day. But first, there is still an open border to our south and people wanting asylum, which they'll never be granted by a judge if they ever even did go to court, by the way. But they're still coming across, even if the media has stopped covering it. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, just yesterday sent a busload of illegal immigrants from Texas to Denver, dropped them off downtown. This after 34 asylum seekers arrived in Philadelphia on Wednesday. It's amazing that these cities are getting worked up over a couple dozen illegal immigrants when Texas has to deal with tens of thousands. The governor said Texas's overwhelmed and overrun border communities should not have to shoulder the flood of illegal immigration due to Biden's reckless open border policies, like his mass catch and release without court dates or any way to track them. ESPN is planning to launch their own standalone streaming service. This is bad news for cable companies. ESPN is one of the main draws for people to buy a cable package. They launched ESPN Plus back in 2018. There's 25.3 million subscribers, but that doesn't have access to ESPN itself, including NBA and NFL games. Cable companies already pay a ton of money to ESPN, so they know how important they are. Most cable stations get 49 cents for every subscriber to the cable network. ESPN gets almost $10 per subscription. The latest with the Disney-DeSantis battle, Disney says they're bailing on their plan for a $1 billion complex in Florida. They say that would have created 2,000 white-collar jobs, most of them relocated from California. Disney says these are the consequences when there's not an inclusive and collaborative work environment between the state of Florida and the business community. DeSantis' team says this is unsurprising that they would cancel the project, given the company's financial straits, falling market cap, and declining stock price. Disney also announced they're closing their Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser resort at Disney World in September. This is a 2-day themed hotel experience. It was $1,200 per person per night. The very first Chick-fil-A location is shutting down. Do you know where that location is? Inside a food court of the Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta. The mall opened in 1965, Chick-fil-A right after, one of the first restaurants in a mall. But the mall doesn't even have any anchor stores anymore. On the menu of that first Chick-fil-A, a 59-cent chicken sandwich, coleslaw fries, and lemon pie. Bill O'Reilly with your message of the day. Next.
Ad paid for by Abadian and Totalian. COVID-19 was tough on businesses. If you experienced a negative impact to your business during the pandemic and have at least 5 W-2 employees, then you need to pay attention. There are some new powerful incentives that have been created specifically for businesses impacted by COVID-19. One such program is the Employee Retention Credit. Its tax incentive could bring you some serious cash back to your business. Even if you received a PPP loan in 2020 or 2021, you were still permitted to receive this credit. There are many ways to be eligible, and taking advantage of this tax credit doesn't need to be complicated. We made it easy for you by doing the legwork to maximize the amount of your refund due. Call us today at 800-862-0585 and we'll set your business up to take full advantage of the Employee Retention Tax Credit. That's 800-862-0585. Again, 800-862-0585. We'll get the ball rolling on getting you and your business some much-needed relief, but time is limited to file a claim. So call 800-862-0585.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. President Biden is off to Japan for the G7 summit. That's nice. Leaders of the free world whining and dining while formulating economic strategies. Not invited to the sushi fest are the bad guys, Xi, Putin, and the mullahs of Iran. These dudes, as they say in California, do not fall into the category of free because they despise freedom. As in the 1930s, the totalitarians are gaining in strength and belligerence. Xi of China is similar to Hitler in his desire to control the world. Putin is cousin to Mussolini, desiring regional dominance. The mullahs emulate Japan's Tojo, fanatics who believe infidels are non-human. The truth is that the totalitarians are far more ruthless than the free soil guys meeting in Japan. She and Putin consider mass murder a hobby. The mullahs believe God has ordered them to commit violence. Faced with those killers, the G7 crew better decide to stick together and formulate a new game plan to defend the world. Joe Biden cannot lead this effort because he can barely stay awake. Britain and France will have to step up. As the cliche goes, good luck with that. Xi, Putin, and the Iranians know their axis of evil now has opportunity. Not a great time for the planet. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. David, hey, Bill, in answer to your question as to whether or not you spend too much time on the corrupt media, I say this. You can't spend enough time exposing the corruption, okay? Miriam Moriani, Big Bear Lake, California, very nice place. I'm confused about your response, Bill, to one of the letters you received saying that millions of illegal aliens are going to end up staying in the U.S. and not be deported. They all have to have asylum cases, and what if their requests are denied? Number one, most of them aren't going to show up, Miriam. Nobody's going to look for them. That's going to show up for their asylum hearing. They're not going to go. Number two, if the asylum hearings are now 5-6 years down the road, tell me you're going to deport people who have kids and a house? They're not. And they're not obeying the law, period, across the board. Greg Selman, Phoenix, Arizona, since white supremacy is basically the theme of Biden's presidency, if this is our biggest threat, wouldn't it be one of the greatest failures of the FBI that there have been no prosecutions? It's not against the law to be a white supremacist. You think what you want to think. But point you make is a good one. If the white supremacists acted on it, then you'd think the FBI would crush them like they crushed the Klan. But we don't have any of those cases. Barbara, concierge member, there, Barbara's got it. I really appreciate the wisdom of how you talk about differing views, Bill. I find it difficult to have conversations with people who have different thoughts about politics than I do. But I realize my point of view has value. I will begin to use your method so that my team normal position can be heard. Calm, facts, humor. Calm, facts, humor. Team normal can persuade. In a moment, something you might not know.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention veterans, active duty military, civilians, and contractors. If you were issued earplugs between 1999 and 2015 and were diagnosed with hearing loss or ringing in the ears, you may be entitled to compensation. The manufacturer of these military earplugs recently paid $9.1 million to resolve claims that their earplugs were defective, potentially exposing service members to damaging sound levels that could have resulted in hearing loss or tinnitus. If you or a loved one were issued earplugs and were diagnosed with tinnitus or hearing loss, don't wait. You fought for this country, and our attorneys want to fight for you. Call 800-687-1936 now for a free legal consultation and to see if you may be eligible to file a claim. Time restrictions may apply, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. So call 800-687-1936 now. Again, 800-687-1936. That's 800-687-1936.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 487 years ago today, the Queen of England was beheaded at the Tower of London. The execution was ordered by her husband, Henry VIII. Here is the story of Anne Boleyn. In 1527, King Henry initiated secret proceedings to obtain an annulment from his first wife, the aging Catherine of Aragon. His ultimate aim was to father a legitimate male to the English throne. The Pope refused his request. For the next 6 years, King Henry became infatuated with a young lady who routinely attended royal parties. Her name, Anne Boleyn. In 1533, the Archbishop of Canterbury ignored the Pope, granting Henry his annulment and performing marriage rites between the king and Anne. 10 months later, Henry broke with the Roman Catholic Church, appointing himself as the supreme head of what would become the Church of England, Anglicans. This decision caused religious and political unrest in Britain for the next 200 years. Anne's behavior soon became erratic. Henry quickly lost interest in his bride and began liaisons with other women. In the spring of 1536, the king had Anne committed to the Tower of London. She was charged with adultery and incest for allegedly having an affair with her own brother. Both allegations were false. Nevertheless, a sham trial filled with Anne's enemies found her guilty. On the 19th of May, Anne Boleyn was beheaded. And here's something else you might not know. Anne proclaimed her innocence until the end. Her final words, quote, "I have come hither to die, for according to the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it. I pray God save the king, for a gentler nor a more merciful prince there never was," unquote. And the merciful Henry then had her head lopped off. Back after this. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty at all, listen up. Car Shield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that's now available to the public. Save on out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. So please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-925-7584 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low in price. Drivers who activate the vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote, 800-925-7584, 800-925-7584. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-925-7584. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.